As it was mentioned, as you can see, my name is Anni Cyrus, and I was born in Iran. You might know it as Iran. Quick raise of hand, how many of you are familiar with the history of Iran? Okay, we're gonna go over it quickly. Iran, until 1979, was not capital and OT Islamic. It was a very westernized country. It was ran by Reza Shah Pahlavi and his queen. Reza Pahlavi was known to be the closest ally to America in Middle East. Also, Iran in general was known as mini America in Middle East. He made sure to have all the Western culture brought to the country, Western education at schools and universities. He was very picky to have equal rights for man and woman. What you're looking at right now is a cover of a magazine named Woman of the Day. So women had their own magazine, and that picture is the very last year that we actually had the beauty pageant Miss Iran. These are the lovely ladies who were on that competition. And also, Iran was known to be Israel's ally in Middle East, only ally. In 1979, there was a revolution in Iran, and the Shah of Iran decided to temporarily step down until things would be sorted out. So he left the country on a vacation and put together a temporary government. A man named Ayatollah Khomeini came along and hijacked the country. We went from this completely to this. That is Ayatollah Khomeini with his family. He came along and he promised the people of Iran free housing, free gas, free electricity. Does it sound familiar by any chance? I know, when I watch Bernie Sanders, I'm like, oh my God, deja vu. We got an American Khomeini here. Anyhow, so he took power, and what he did, the first thing he did was get rid of the Constitution of Iran, which, for those of you who may not know, was the mirror image of American Constitution minus the Second Amendment. Khomeini ruled the country for a couple of years and died, and Supreme Leader Khomeini took power. That is the current Supreme Leader of Islamic Republic of Iran. On top of that, the country went to complete Sharia constitution, meaning the constitution, laws in the country come from Quran, words of Allah, Sunnah, life of Muhammad, and Hadith, the stories told by those who lived with Muhammad when he was alive, dealing with situation under different circumstances. They took away the right to freedom from women. They took away the right of having a job, having a driver license, having a passport, traveling, buying property, owning business, choosing their husband. Unless they have a male guardian to give them a written authorization, then they could have all of the things I just mentioned. Another law they made was when you wear the hijab, it has to be black, head to toe. If you break the law, you will be arrested, just like those young ladies having a little bit of a color on their pants are arrested and being transferred to prison. Or if you go too much of a color, you will definitely be dragged on the street, put in a van, and taken to detention center. So, lucky me, I was born after the revolution, so I was born into that. And on top of that, I was also born to a father who was a sheikh, which is a Islamic leader, a step higher than imam, and also a mother who was a Quran teacher. So I will just say this for the record. Anything I cite from Quran, it was basically forced into my head and kind of sort of never left, which is bad news. I was about 7 years old and I was getting ready to go to school. I was very excited. I love school to this day. If somebody would say, hey, there's a free school, I would go. So as I was excited, they were getting me ready, putting my uniform together, and I noticed there's a hijab involved. So I brought up the point that, wait, I wasn't supposed to wear the hijab until I'm 9 years old. My mother's explanation was, well, you have 2 years to wear the hijab until you master it, be comfortable with it, so when it is required, you can easily wear it. However, for now, you just wear it at school. When you're at home or outside, you don't have to wear it. Before school, it is mandatory to wear it. So we got ready and headed to school the first day. Yes, that is me in my school uniform. My father took me to school the first day, and on the way, the first thing I noticed is boys who are walking to school are not wearing what I'm wearing. They are pretty much wearing whatever they want, different color of t-shirt and different color of pants. So I asked my father, why am I wearing this and they're wearing that? And my answer was a punch in the face. I asked too many questions, so I asked the second question, why are you punching me? And my father, with a very, very disappointing feeling of, you're such a bad girl, looked at me in the eyes and pointed at my face and said, you will never question Allah. And that was my very first lesson learned in Islam. Don't ever question Allah. Close your eyes and just obey. Fast forward, I was 9 years old, got invited to an event from a school, which was called, translated to English, Requirement Day. And I went home, took the invitation card to my family. They were very happy, they were very excited, and they started to prepping me for the event. The first step was I had to memorize and master my prayer, which is 5 times a day. I was raised a Shia Muslim, 5 times a day prayer, and I got my very first red flag about Allah on that very day, because I was told I have to learn the prayer in Arabic. So I'm standing there, 9 years old, I'm like, wait a minute, you told me Allah created me and you and everybody else, and this whole beautiful planet belongs to Allah, but He can be bilingual, so I have to be bilingual? Okay, I'll take the credit. So mastered the prayer, mastered call to prayer, and then after that, I mean, ladies in this room, you get what I'm saying. You're 9 years old. What am I going to wear? They brought out what I was going to wear. And this is me with my father ready to go to that event. Yes. A full burqa covering my entire body. It was all the way down to my ankle. And well, it was white and there were some flowers involved, so I guess that counts. We got ready and we went to the ceremony. It was supposed to be a ceremony. We got there, and the room is filled with 9-year-old girls. Some of them, obviously, I know because they're from my school. Some of them, I have no idea who they are. So we went ahead, and they basically lined up all the parents against the wall in the middle of the room. We all sat down. A mom came up and started preaching. Citing Quran and praising Muhammad and how Islam is this and that and the whole 9 yards. And then when he was done with all of that, he went on and said, all of you girls in this room, starting now, under Sharia, are officially a full adult woman. He went on to saying, you are responsible for your actions. You will face consequences. You will obey Sharia. You will follow Muhammad. and you will die, and if needed, kill in the name of Allah. At that moment, I went from the girl that was worried about what am I going to wear to, oh my goodness, I am a woman. Added bonus, if your male guardian decides it's time for you to get married, you will do so. Then he asked us to get up and repeat after him. He said the Shahada, which is when you say the Shahada, you will fully convert to an adult Muslim. Keep looking at the picture. That day, I was announced a full adult Muslim woman. Did not have a single choice on any of those words that I just used. I was just named. To make sure I understand the seriousness of the matter, they actually handed every single one of us an actual certification that says on this date, this person is officially an adult woman. I don't know if you can see it or not. On the certification, actually, there's a little girl with a black hijab doing the prayer. And for the record, I wasn't the only one who faced it. That year wasn't the only year it happened. Every single year in Iran and Pakistan and Afghanistan, parts of India, generally Islamic countries, this day happens to every single 9-year-old girl. To all of them, every year, they will be crushed from personal experience. They will be crushed because they will be announced an adult woman. So, now why do you think I was called an adult woman at age 9? I'll tell you why. Raise of hand quickly. Anybody familiar with Aisha? Muhammad, anybody familiar with Muhammad? Prophet of Islam. Muhammad had 11 wives at the same time. His very favorite wife was named Aisha. Aisha was 6 years old when Muhammad married her, and she was 9 years old when he consummated the marriage. Therefore, I was called a woman at age 9, thanks to Muhammad. Anyways, being an adult woman, responsible for my own actions, facing consequences, I managed to get myself arrested over 12 times, lashed over 100 times, raped over I don't know how many times, by the time I was getting close to my 14 years old teenager. Crimes I committed were things that every single normal teenager does. I had nail polish on. I went to a party when boys and girls were dancing and singing. I accidentally showed hijab from back of my hair. And on and on, you know, I was singing publicly. And honestly, I didn't even notice my voice is that high or loud. Crimes like that landed me in prison and bought me lashes. By the time I was getting close to my 14, my father, the sheikh, was very upset with the fact that I was bringing too much shame and attention to the family. So he decided it is time for me to be someone else's problem. He decided to marry me off. I became a child bride before I even turned 14. In return, he received $50, actual American dollars, and opium for a month of his personal usage. As much as my father was a sick man with no soul, I think I have the right to say that, right? Yeah. However, there was a reason that he did what he did, and he got away with it. And that is chapter 4 of Quran, verse 3, where it says, if you fear, you will not do fair or fairly with orphan girls, then marry of other women that seem good to you, 2, 3, or 4. But if you fear you will not deal with them justly, then only marry one, or your sex slaves. This is more likely to make you avoid bias. I will not try to elaborate this, but I will say this. Would you all agree, based on this verse by itself, it is authorized for a Muslim man to have up to 4 wives at the same time? Perfect. Now, orphan girl. What is an orphan girl? Pretty sure it's an underage girl who has lost her parents, correct? So right there, established, underage girl, marrying an underage girl, it's all right. Now, I will let Aisha, Muhammad's favorite wife, explain to you what this verse exactly means. If you read Sahih al-Bukhari, which is a hadith book, volume 7, book of marriage, which is book 62, second hadith, Yursa, Aisha's nephew, goes to Aisha and say, Aisha, what does Allah mean by chapter 4, verse 3? Aisha says, oh, my nephew, this verse has been revealed in connection with an orphan girl under the guardianship of her guardian who might be attracted by her wealth or beauty and intend to marry her. With a mehr is a marriage money in Islam. You pay and buy your wife. With a mehr less than what other women of her standard deserve. So they, such guardians, have been forbidden to marry them unless they do justice to them and give them their full marriage money, and they are ordered to marry other women instead of them. I will quickly make this a little simple. An orphan girl under a guardianship of a guardian, the guardian is attracted to her by her beauty or wealth, right there and then, oh my God. However, because it's Islam, he decides to marry her. If he is not willing to give her equal money as other women of her standard, he can marry her. But if he's going to pay the same money, he is good to go. To this day, I haven't decided which one makes me more sick. The fact that you can be attracted to a little girl, or the fact that it's just a matter of money. You pay enough, you get the product. Based on that, my father was allowed to sell me for a money that would satisfy him. And the law of the country I was born in, Civil Code of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Book 10, Chapter 1, says the age of majority for boys, it's a note, is 15, and for girls is 9. So I wasn't even an underage girl when he sold me. So the problem was even solved right there. As soon as I turned 9, it was okay to sell me. However, just so you know, in Civil Code of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Book 7, Chapter 2 does say marriage before the age of majority is prohibited. However, marriage before puberty by the permission of the guardian and on condition of taking into consideration the ward's interest is proper. So even if I was underage, my dad could still sell me because he was my guardian. And please, if you like to take note of all these so you can confirm that I didn't just type things up and make them up, do so. Moving forward, the man who bought me decided to pretty much look at me as a punching bag. Obviously, to him, it's a marriage. So my life after that was either he was raping me or he was beating me. In all fairness, sometimes he decided to do both. So one day I got tired of being beat up. After he was done beating me, I went to the court and tried to get myself a divorce. I walked into a court with a dislocated shoulder, bloody lip, and a bruised face, went to a judge and I said, Your Honor, you have got to save me because this man is going to kill me. He looked up very calmly with a smile and said, well, young lady, maybe you should start obeying your husband so he doesn't have to beat you. Now go home and make him happy. I was 15 by then. Again, it takes a lot of not having any humanity in you to say that to a 15-year-old girl. But why would a judge have the right to say that? Well, let's move on to our next verse in Quran, chapter 4, verse 34, where it says, men are in charge of women, on and on and on, and say, if you think, please pay attention, if you think you don't need to know, she doesn't have to do it, then you act on it. If you think your wife is going to disobey you, first warn her, then separate your bed, then beat her. But if she comes back obeying you, then don't beat her anymore, which automatically means if she's not obeying you, keep on beating her. So based on that verse in Quran, word of Allah, he was allowed to beat me, and that judge couldn't do anything about it. So I was lucky to have a grandmother who was against everything that was going on with me and the country altogether. So rest in peace. She saved me. She managed to get a smuggler to smuggle me out of the country. I was transferred to Turkey, where I went to UN, became a refugee, real refugee. Waited my term, did the paperwork, proper channels, until I was welcomed to America legally with an I-94 visa. And I came, amazingly, I came to America on August 8, 2002, and I landed in Chicago. Yeah, Chicago is home to me. 2010, by 2010, I did everything in my power to learn the culture, learn the language, become as American as I could, respect the law, understand my freedom and my rights. And by 2010, I was eligible, and I decided to take the step and become officially a proud American citizen. And from there on, I decided to start speaking out. Because I survived, millions didn't. And I realized victims left behind one side of the story. There are future victims right here that I call my fellow Americans. If I don't come out here, if I don't tell you what happened to me, why it happened, what's happening to other Muslim girls, and why it's okay for it to happen, you will never know what you're facing. We have a lot of women here who are marching the streets asking for equal rights. I normally ask them, what is the right you're missing? Because I'm pretty sure you have every right a man has in this country. Now, if you choose not to practice your right, that's a different story. But I already gave you a few verses of Quran on how a woman is treated under Islam, including Islamic Republic of Iran. But basically, as a woman under Islam, you are counted as a half of a man, completely a half. Your testimony counts as half of a man. So if there's one man as a witness, you need two women to counter his testimony. If a father passed away, the son will get twice as the daughter. And pretty much, as I said, the male guardian will make all the decisions for the woman because she is half of a man, therefore it's half capable as well. And there has been an argument that has nothing to do with Islam, but it does have everything to do with Islam because chapter 4, verse 11 does say, it's a long verse, but on that very specific verse, it does say that the woman counts as a half of a man because it goes for the male portion of inheriting anything from the father. The male portion is what is equal to the share of two female. From right there on, as a woman started being counted as a half of a man in Islam. Now, another thing is, we have a rape culture here in America, okay? First of all, rape isn't a culture in America. Rape is a tragedy that happens everywhere because we have rapists everywhere. However, in America, when a rape happens, a victim can go, file charges. When the rapist is arrested, he will face consequences, correct? So there's justice served. In Islam, if you're raped, you will be killed as the victim. Reason for that is because in Islam says, those who commit unlawful sexual intercourse of your woman, bring upon them 4 witnesses, and then pretty much punish the guilty woman. Note that on the verse, just punish the guilty woman. Lock her up until she's dead. Now, when you're raped, you need to bring 4 witnesses to prove rape. Well, you can't, correct? When you don't, you right there and then admit it to committing adultery, because that rape will turn into you having sexual intercourse with your rapist. There is no need for witnesses because you just confessed to it yourself. Therefore, you will be punished by death. Therefore, under Islam, rape does not exist. Another thing you hear in America a lot, hijab is not mandatory. Hijab is a choice. You know, I can wear it, I can remove it if I want to. In all reality, yes, it is a choice, because in Islam it says either wear the hijab or be raped. So you do have the choice technically, but I don't call those much of a choice. Now, on chapter 24, verse 31, as long as it is, you don't need to read it, but it does basically mention specifically to tell the believing woman to wrap part of their head cover down to their chest. So hijab isn't about modesty. Hijab isn't about wearing some sort of, baggy clothes so your curves aren't showing. No, hijab specifically is to wrap your hair and your neck and the rest of your body, show your face and your hands. That is chapter 4, verse 31. Now it goes further in Quran and brings up the secondary verse, chapter 33, verse 59, where it says, "O Prophet, tell your wives," very important here. It's not tell your wives, "and your daughters and believing women to wear their hijab," or here it says, to wear their garment loose, "so they will be known and not be abused." So here is where the choice comes in. Wear your hijab so you're known as the Muslim woman. If not, you will be abused. These are the choices as far as the hijab goes. Now, all of this, my story, past time, you all have the right to say, well, they're getting modern and they're not doing it so much. So I would like to share some of the recent victims of Islam in Iran. Oh, there we go. I want you to meet Shaparek. Shaparek recently was involved in the revolution that's going on in Iran, and she was one of the very first women who removed her hijab publicly on the streets of Iran and said no to hijab. She was sentenced to 20 years prison time for removing her hijab. Thankfully, she was able to escape the country. She is safe, she is out. But many other women, 37 other women who were arrested with her, are all going to spend 20 years of their life as prisoners for removing their hijab. Then comes Maadeh. She is a 17-year-old teenager who recently has been sentenced to 2 years prison and 80 lashes. Her crime? She danced in her bedroom, made a video of it, and put it on her Instagram. And when I say dance, she wasn't strip dancing. She was dancing to a traditional Persian song and doing a traditional Persian dance. So she is going to face 80 lashes and 2 years in prison as a teenager, 17 years old, because she wanted to be happy. She wanted to enjoy some music and some dance. Now it gets more painful. Very recently, this news actually is from yesterday that I received. Meet Maryam Faraji. She is a civil rights activist, human rights activist. She actually worked with me on many of the rescue cases. I've known her personally. And she was recently sentenced to 2 years, 3 years prison, 2 years banned from exiting Iran. And that was because she was part of the group of 5 women who started the White Wednesday in Iran, which was equal right for women. Unfortunately, her body was found last night, and she was burned completely. So, all these faces. Next person, meet Somaya, 29-year-old mother of 2 daughters, married to an abusive man. One day she got tired of being beat up, so she told her husband, I'm going to file for divorce and take my kids, my daughters. He warned her, if she tries, she will not be happy with the result. And she went ahead and filed for divorce, and that pissed off the husband. One night in 2011, he came home, shut off the electricity, and poured acid on her as she was sleeping next to her 3-year-old infant daughter. Please look at their faces. The daughter's name is Rana. A father did that to her infant girl. Rana survived. To this day, she's fighting, and thankfully, we were able to raise enough money so she can get all the surgeries she needs. Unfortunately, Somaya did not survive. She passed away in 2015 from complications. All of this sanctioned by Allah, committed by Muhammad. In Quran, over 91 verses says, Muhammad is a perfect example of a man, and you shall follow his footsteps. Muhammad did all of this. So, Muslim men are allowed to do it. Do I say all of them do them? No, absolutely not. However, what we did here for you is we left a bowl of M&M at the exit door. There's one for everybody. We just mixed about 5 or 6 poisonous ones in there. Go ahead, help yourself when you're leaving this building. Now, everyone I talked about, including myself, suffered in Islamic countries, right? Let's talk about Sharia in America, because a lot of people think Sharia isn't here. Yes, it is. There has been a research, many research, but this one was commissioned by the U.S. Department of Justice. And they find out there are 4 types of honor violence going on in America, including forced marriages, honor-based domestic violence, honor killings, and female genital mutilation. Based on reports, 23 to 27 honor killings are taking place per year in America. Those are only the reported ones. Imagine the number of those that are not reported. Every girl that goes missing never comes back somehow. Oh, she went back to Middle East to meet family, but she decided to not come back ever. Are you familiar with Said sisters? Anyone in this room Said sisters? Raise of hand. Okay, 2 people. So I want you to meet Said sisters. In Texas, in 2008, these 2 beautiful sisters were shot by their father because they became too Americanized and they were dating non-Muslim boys. American citizens, therefore, I think it's logical for me to say Sharia applied to an American citizen. We also had, there you go. We also had in 2009, Miss Hassan. She was killed by her husband because she pretty much failed to be an obeying, devoted Muslim woman. There are so many more. If you look up, go to jihadwatch.org, there's a long list of victims of honor killing here in America. Then, female genital mutilation. One of the most horrifying crimes sanctioned under Islam is now in America, ladies and gentlemen. Take a look. This is Dr. Nagrava. She has been performing female genital mutilation to Muslim girls in, you want to take a guess? Michigan. Some of the girls were brought from Minnesota, cross-border to Michigan so she could perform female genital mutilation on her. Right here in America, again. There was a study in America in 2013, and again, please keep your eyes on the screen. I know it's hard, but you need to look at these faces. You need to know what is going on in this world by hands of Sharia. So in 2013, there was a research, again, in America, where it says, estimated 500,000 women and girls in the United States have undergone the procedure of female genital mutilation or are at risk of female genital mutilation. In Islam, a person is a slave. A man is a slave to Allah. A woman is a slave to Allah's slave, which is a man. As a woman, you are nothing but a property. They are here, they are everywhere, and they don't have a choice. Because in Quran, Allah said, until every breathing human is a Mohammedan, being a Muslim, day of peace will not arrive. So, they don't have a choice. They will have to kill or convert every single person. So, good or bad, by choice or not, at the moment, our number one enemy is Islam. So I need you to get to know our enemy. I did my best with the time I had to show you parts or face of our enemy. I faced our enemy. I looked it right in the eye, and I survived. I do what I do because, one, there is no way I am going back to that life ever. Two, I was saved by America, and I know many other survivors who were saved by America. So in a way, it's my turn to return the favor. And using my knowledge and life experience, I need to save her. And all I'm asking you is please get behind me, be Americans, and fight for her because she is well worth the fight. With that being said, God bless you and God bless America.